Okay, so in regards to the Parkland School Massacre, I want to go over some of the statistics supporting gun control. Here's the thing, there are none. The CDC and National Academy of Sciences both conducted extensive meta-studies, that is, a review of all the available literature on the issue, and both found that they could not identify a single gun control regulation that reduced murder, suicides, or accidents. All the empirical evidence shows that gun control does not work. Okay, keep in mind this is the CDC and the National Academy of Sciences. These are not right-wing bias organizations. They set out to determine which gun control regulations were effective in reducing gun violence. And they failed. And they didn't lie. They didn't try to mess with the statistics. They just came out with what the science showed. And the science showed that they could not, after reviewing, I believe the CDC reviewed 99 books, over approximately 237 journal articles, and another source of scientific literature, and they could not identify a single gun control regulation that reduced murder, suicide, or accidents. And the National Academy of Sciences conducted a similar meta-study just a few years later. This is not surprising. I mean, if you look at a country like Switzerland, higher rate of gun ownership per capita than the United States, one of the lowest levels of violent crime in the civilized world. Why? Well, you're not going to go try to rob, mug, shoot, rape, or otherwise harm someone if you know that they own a firearm. Why do 98% of mass shootings in the United States over the past 40 years, why have they all occurred in gun-free school zones? Because mass shooters want to go where there's going to be no one that can defend themselves. There are no mass shootings at NRA meetings. There are no mass shootings, in the middle of Texas. Okay? Criminals prefer unarmed victims. Now, even if we banned all firearms, people could simply use cars or machetes, like we saw in I forget the name of the college, that one incident, and then shortly after that grade school shooting, Sandy Hook, a man in China stabbed over 38 little kids, and he did so with a knife. So even if we were to ban all guns, that's not going to put an end to violence. The criminals will simply find different weapons, and they will, again, look for areas where no one can defend themselves, because the innocent victims will not have the ability to defend themselves. So I don't know why Republicans and conservatives and libertarians are not pounding this, and they should say, where is the statistical evidence that shows that any single gun regulation ever, according to any study that has been peer-reviewed, been proven effective? There are a few, and they have been thoroughly debunked. And that's why we have meta-studies, where you gather a team of top statistical experts who go and view all the literature, and if there's a bad study, they see how the data was was manipulated, and they review hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of studies, and various sources of literature, aggregate it and come to a reliable conclusion. So there is no scientific evidence that any sort of gun control regulation, including background checks, reduces murder, suicides, or accidents. And that's the end of the story. And if you are a defender of gun rights, look, I'll post a link below to the article that cites these studies. I will post links to the actual studies so you can review it for yourself. And anytime you're in a debate, pound this home. There is no statistical evidence that gun control reduces violent crime. If anything, when you have gun control, all it does is lead to greater crime. Now, we don't have an extensive meta-study yet. There's been no meta-study set out to prove that gun control increases violent crime. That's something that I would like to see the NRA or Gun Owners of America sponsor, and then pay a third party who's unbiased, like the CDC or the National Academy of Sciences or a university who's left-leaning, to conduct, if they're willing to do so. Because in the cities where there is strict gun control, you see higher rates of violent crime and higher rates of gun violence, because the criminals buy their firearms from the back of a pickup truck or the back of the trunk of a car. They buy it on the streets illegally, and then law-abiding citizens find it too difficult to purchase firearms, and so they are completely defenseless, and thus you have higher rates of violence. So if you want more people to die, pass gun control legislation.